All right. Sonia, do you want to start us off?
Yes, thank you everyone for joining us today. We are covering designing better communication with remote teams. My name is Sonia Gladwin. I am acting as host and Vanna for our presenter. I am the director of corporate training group, and we work with organizations for the college to bring our services from the college out to the community. So thank you for joining us. I have the privilege of introducing Jen Laura. She is an award-winning professor at Anne Arundel Community College and our lead in the Coaching Institute, and she'll give you a little information about that. So Jen, thank you for being with us. Welcome. Could you take us and start us off today?
Sure. Yeah. So thank you, Corporate Training Group here at Anne Arundel Community College. This is year 20 for me at the college. And I have the pleasure of leading our engagement coach training program. A lot of people don't realize, but that Anne Arundel Community College is the first community college in the nation with an ICF, the International Coach Federation, accredited coach training program, which means you can take 3 to 4 to we're creating 5 coaching classes with us, and those all can be applied if you would like to be an ICF certified coach. And ICF, the International Coach Federation, is kind of the gold standard in coaching. So we're really proud to be literally the first community college in the nation with this, and to compete with some of the major universities in the area. The other thing we're really proud of is if you live in the state of Maryland, our first 3 courses, our first 4 courses out of 5 have statewide designation. So that means if you live anywhere in the state, you get in-county tuition. That is $350 a course, people. My coach training cost about $12,000. So to know that you get 4 courses at $350 each in the state of Maryland just blows my mind. I'm so proud of us. It's leveling the playing field and being a coach, and it is a fantastic set of skills. So if you have any curiosity about that, we'll be sharing my email. We'll also be sharing Corporate Training Group's email at the end. And we've got classes open for the public that will be launching this June that you guys can sign up for. So we would love to have you. It really is a cool set of skills. Speaking about a set of skills, my coach training is what made this topic so important to me. And why it's important is in coaching, we teach that you never take relationships for granted, that the more upfront, specific, and open you can be about what you need, the better and more successful those relationships are. So that's how the idea of this webinar came to be. Here's what I want to design with you today. I want to design that we are all in with grace. And by all in with grace, we have about an hour together, and the grace part is new. We're all in this new time period where our homes are doubling as not just homes, but they are our schools, they are our full-time restaurants, they are our workplaces. They really are doubling as everything. And so I know, Sonia knows, that you may have other things competing with your time right now, whether it's a child, a dog, a cat, one of your interns at home. We just want to design in that when we're together, please be as all in as you can. We're not going to judge you if you need to jump off screen, come back, etc. with grace. Second, it would be a total shame, especially those of you who've been to many Zoominars, webinars this week, if you left our hour together and went, well, that was a waste of time. It will only be a waste of time if you don't do bullet number 2, use or adapt the information to fit your needs. So if you take 1 gem away, I'm cheering. If you take 10 gems away from today, I will like hoot and holler and tweak it, riff on it to fit your needs. And then the last thing, and I think we're all getting so much better at this, is be open to Zoom etiquette. Because our households are so busy right now, if you'll please make sure you mute yourself. If you want to be on camera, you can, but also there's a lot of us on today. If you want to be off camera, that is totally fine as well. We will be using breakout rooms. And so in the breakout rooms, a lot of times it's better to have your camera on, but I'm a big believer in challenge by choice. So I'll let you decide. Okay, now speaking about breakout rooms, how many people have used breakout rooms? If you can either give me a thumbs up, you can use the what is it called? Nonverbal, or the reaction at the bottom. You can use the chat box. I'm seeing some people are saying, I've never used the breakouts, not yet. Okay, feel free again to use those non-verbal signs, those non-reaction signs. Some of you have been in the breakouts. To me, it's one of the best features in Zoom is using the breakouts. You can use it by phone, by tablet, or of course by your computer. So in just a moment, we're going to assign you to a breakout room, and this is what we'd like you to do. We'd like you to do a bottom line introduction. Most of us are, because there's almost 100 of us on this call right now. And so when you get there, if you'll bottom line, just your name, your role, and your organization. Don't give your whole CV, don't give your whole life story. We won't have time for that because we're only going to spend about 5 minutes in the breakout. The second thing we want you to share is what provoked you to attend this session. There are hundreds of Zoominars to choose from. Why this one? And then last but not least, our topic is about communication and designing better communication. It all starts with you. So the third thing we want you to discuss is, what do you wish others understood about your communication preferences during the pandemic? And I'm going to make sure that I put this information in the chat box, because when you're in the breakout room, you can click on chat at any moment if you forget what you should be discussing. Okay, now if you are new to breakout rooms, I'm going to stop sharing for a moment. I'm going to get my reading glasses on so I can see, and I am going to get the breakout rooms going. It's a really fun feature to use that's quite useful. Let me just get it going. You're going to be with one or two other people in the breakout room. And so again, you're going to introduce yourself, bottom line, what provoked you to take this session, and then last but not least, what are your big preferences around communication during this time period? All right, let me create the breakout rooms. Let me make sure that we have people in them. Some of the breakout rooms are going to have 4 people. So what I'd like you to do, actually, I am going to make them a little smaller. Yes, I am. What I'd like you to do, if you happen to be in a room where there's more people, is if you will just make sure you really, truly do bottom line your introduction, okay? Really, truly bottom line your introduction. Just making sure we have people in breakout rooms. Let's recreate.
I'm going to go ahead and pause our recording, Jen.
Okay. All right, thank you so much. One of the cool features of Zoom is the breakout. It doesn't mean it's flawless, but it does mean it's interactive. So if you haven't been experimenting with that, please do, especially if it's a preference that you have, instead of working in big groups, working in small. So we wanted to share with you today something called the U-curve hypothesis. And the reason, oh, let's make sure we mute everybody. The reason this is important, thanks. Sonia, would you make sure that the mute all is on and participants?
Yep.
Great, thank you. The reason the U-curve could be important to you right now is it impacts how you show up in your communication. So it goes like this. It starts at the upper left-hand corner in the honeymoon phase. Some of you right now may be in the honeymoon phase of COVID-19, this pandemic. It may be that you are enjoying the time at home. You like the simplicity of life. You no longer have to commute, X number of hours a day. You appreciate that there's all this learning or working from home or being with your family. Some of you, though, may be in the next phase of the U-curve, which is hostility. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're hostile. You can be hostile, and you may have family members or you who feel that way. It also can be other descriptors, like maybe you're stressed about it, feeling overwhelmed, depressed, uncertain. So it doesn't always have to be a hostile sort of feeling or environment. Now, from hostility, the cool part about hostility, if you're there or somebody else, smile, because guess what? The next part of the U means you've moved on to humor. And humor means not like, ha ha ha, this pandemic is so funny, but instead, you can see the gifts and the challenges of this time period. You can see the pros and the cons. You can take this time period with a grain of salt. And for some of you, you actually may be in the home stage where this new normal is not new anymore. It is totally normal. You are hunkered down. You get it. You can adapt this lifestyle. You are, in many cases, thriving. So right now, be thinking about, where are you in the U-curve hypothesis? Are you honeymoon? Are you hostility? Are you humor? Are you home? And we'd like to just find out where you are. So most of you will be able, let me stop screen sharing for a minute. Most of you will be able to see this poll. If you're on a Chromebooks, polls don't come up. On a lot of phones, polls don't come up. And you're welcome to use the chat box if you're not seeing the poll. The question is, where are you on the U-curve? Are you honeymoon, hostility, humor, or home? As the host, I can see what's coming in. We got a lot of people at home, and I'm going to share the results coming in. We've got about 50% of you have voted, so keep coming in, keep sharing where you are. How you show up has impact. Where you are in the U curve has impact. Thank you, Don. I see that you've shared that you're in the honeymoon phase. So how you show up may be very different than somebody who shows up for a design, communication, conversation, who's in another phase. Keep it coming. We have more votes coming in. Y'all are blowing my mind. You're going to see in a minute. So many of you are in the humor and home phase. My goodness. Go East Coast. Go state of Maryland. I know we have West Virginia in the house and maybe some neighboring states. I'm proud. Where's Governor Hogan? He is going to be proud. All right, last call for voting before I share the results and end the poll, not the pool, although it would be nice to be in a pool soon. All right, I'm going to end the poll, share the results. Look at us. Pat yourself on the back, you humor and homes. Look at you. You see the challenges and the gifts. You're like, I got this. I can thrive in a pandemic. We've got 9% of you who are still in the honeymoon phase. Everything is awesome and simple and life is lovely. Some of you are in the hostility phase. Yeah, and again, the good news about hostility, it's a U curve, right? The next phase is humor. So let me stop sharing that. Click off there for a moment. This topic is all about better communication with your remote teams, because for most of us, we're working in a new environment. Not for everybody. Some of you have been working remotely already before this. I wanted to share 3 tenets that I think are most important when it comes to communication with remote teams. Tenet number 1 is you need to voice what you need, which is why in the breakout rooms, we asked you to discuss what are your personal preferences in communication. If you don't know what you need, you can't convey that to anybody else and nobody can read your mind. Second tenet is to be open to what other people need. Communication, that's hence the word, it's like reciprocal. And especially when you're working with teams and groups and departments and divisions and organizations, and we saw who introduced themselves. You guys are in large organizations, some of you. You have to not only know what you need, but you have to be open to what other people need too. Communication is a two-way street. And not to make assumptions. An assumption I made recently, I have a colleague who's really techie. And I just made the assumption that she's got this pandemic, like honeymoon, she probably skipped hostility, humor. Well, guess what? She is like way entrenched in hostility because she does not have reliable internet connection at home. I made the assumption she loves technology, she's got this, but instead she's having the exact opposite experience. So be open to what other people need. And lastly, I'm calling it the CCL, the Creative COVID License. This is a real opportunity for all of us to think creatively about how we do business, how we interact with each other, and how we want to show up. So what I mean by the CCL, instead of just a regular creative license, we now have the Creative COVID license, is, you know, in the past, a lot of businesses were open 9 to 5 or something like that. Is there a way to flex those hours? We're all at home now. For example, bullet point number 2, parents. What I've heard from a lot of parents, because I coach a lot of parents, is that they are juggling homeschooling and work and trying to, like, you know, keep their sanity. In that case, could you design in that if you're a parent and need to sort of leapfrog back, work, homeschool, work, homeschool, work, homeschool? Is there an ability to communicate to your teams that you want to work in smaller chunks of time? Those people who are like me, I'm an early riser. From 5:30 to 8:30, I get so much done. But it also means then I like to take a little break and then I like to come back. The same for you night owls. You know, if in the olden days before this pandemic, we were all working 9 to 5, is there the ability to design in with your teams that instead that you would prefer to work like 12 to 8? Or for those of you who like to really stay up late, you might want to be working even later hours. Number 4 is what my husband and his team is doing. He works for the Department of Defense, and there's about 20 people on his team. They have decided, get your work done. But from 11 to 3, those are going to be our common hours. So we're going to have our meetings then. I know that if I email you or try to call you then, you're going to be available. But then all bets are off the rest of the time. So that means they've designed in that nobody needs special approval to work early or to work late or work through the night. Like, these are choices you can make. Get your work done, and these are our common hours. I have a colleague who is doing set email times. And so he is only checking email at 9, 12, and 3. which when he communicates that, which I love, I know that if I want an answer from him, I need to get my email in his queue for those times. If I decide to email him at 4 in the afternoon and he's already done with his 3 p.m. round of emails, I know that the next morning it'll be addressed at 9 a.m. And that's great for me to know. The other thing is some of you are using very specific platforms. I know at Anne Arundel Community College, we are using Microsoft Teams more and more. And so with just a few of my colleagues, we have scrapped our old Outlook email system and now we're just using Microsoft Teams and we're just experimenting, but I'm not doing that with everyone. I've designed it with certain colleagues where it is efficient and effective for how we want to communicate. All right, I want to go back up to the 3 tenets and let's use the chat box. Which of these 3 tenets is resonating with you the most right now? Is it that you want to lean more into voicing for what you need? Or is it the second one that you want to be more open to what other people need? Or is it the third one that you are leaning more into CCL? So I'm going to stop sharing for a minute. That way I can see all your smiling faces, including a really cute dog. Oh my gosh. No babies today? I'm not seeing any babies online. I think I see a cat. I think I may see a
Just put
small...
my baby to sleep.
Oh, darn. I love when you guys bring like cute dates. Where are the fun dates? Oh my gosh.
He's just crying a lot. He's 5 months old.
Oh, that's awesome. Congrats. Y'all, do you see the chat box exploding over here? The amount of creative thinking that is happening. No wonder the state of Maryland and surrounding states, I'm not leaving you out, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Delaware, DC, not leaving you behind. Oh my gosh, how fantastic. And I'm seeing a little bit of being open to what other people need to. Fantastic. Love that. Love, love, love. All right, now, sometimes having conversations about what you need is challenging. Now, if that is challenging, if that is a true statement, I'm going to share 3 steps to make it less challenging for you. And I'm going to lean way into my camera and say, you need to come train as a coach with us. Because when you have coaching skills, literally you can have any conversation on the planet and you've got confidence and curiosity and this like breadth of skills. So if right now you're like, I hate hard conversations or I hate asking for what I need, then just come train as a coach. We're gonna have a good time together. And by the way, I'm teaching all the classes in the fall. So you will be stuck with me and Anton, who is fantastic. So you will love us both, I think. So here's step number 1. This is going to be zero surprise to you because I've been saying this since you got in your breakout room. What do you need? Okay. What do you need? This is so important. We cannot read your mind. We need to know what you need. A best way to do this is bullet point number 1. What are your biggest pain points right now? For me, at the beginning of this pandemic, you know what my pain point was? Everybody thought, since I was working from home, that I was available like at a moment's notice. So I'm getting all these meeting invites. It'll be like 1 o'clock like it is now, and somebody's like, at 1:15, we need to meet. I was like, no, that's not gonna work. Or I need this project done by 2 o'clock. I'm like, just because I'm working from home doesn't mean like I don't have like a calendar of things that rules my life. So figure out what your pain points are, and that will address bullet point number 2. It will inform what you need to design. And what I mean by that is this: not everything is a pain point for you. You may love how email is going. You may love how phone use is going. Here's a list of things that may need designing. For example, I love bullet point number 4. I love that more people now are using things like SurveyMonkey or Google Forms or some type of polling to sort of get all the needs at once. That way I don't have to keep asking, I don't have to keep sharing. They can use a survey tool and they can say, hey Jen, what's your life like? What do you need? What are your pain points? How can we help you? That is super helpful. If you look halfway down the list, less tech meetings. I am certain, especially the person who said they've been to thousands of Zoominars and webinars, that we're all going to have some sort of new, we already were in front of computers before and sort of rounded backs. We're going to have a little bit more of that now that we're spending so much time. So is there a way to make our meetings less in front of a computer? For example, in Maryland today, it is gorgeous. It'd be so nice to have in some earbuds and my phone and be walking while I'm having a meeting. Looking down at the lower half, a lot of folks are juggling aging parents, children, homeschool, as we mentioned earlier, super cute pets who are very curious about what we are doing at home all the time. All those things can be designed in. For example, in my house, I'm at my mom's today, but at my house, what we do is we've got like Alexa dots in all the room, and I will close the kitchen down when I need complete silence. And so I have Alexa announce on every Echo Dot in our house, the kitchen is closed from 1 to 2 o'clock. And then my entire family knows that when they hear that, it's because I'm either leading a webinar like this or I'm doing some type of work project where I don't want anybody in that space. And then when the time is over, I have Alexa announce to the whole house, the kitchen is open, and then everybody like flocks to the kitchen as if they haven't been fed all week. Point being is you might need to be designing with your family. They may not get why we're home all the time and what our needs are. All right, and let's move to another step 2. Once you decide what you need, then the goal then is to design with other people. Not everybody needs to know what you need. For example, when my supervisor kept doing these last minute meetings, not everybody needed to know that. I didn't need to badmouth that person. I didn't need to go tell 10 friends. All I did is I reached out to her. She's a coach too, so it was so fun. We had a great coaching conversation. I said, here's what I need. I still have a calendar that dictates my life. Yes, this is paper. I love digital stuff, but I am an old school paper calendar. Shake your head if you were like me, old school on that. And I just needed to let her know this is what I need. I still have things planned, and last minute still doesn't work. It didn't work before the pandemic. It's not working now. And she's been awesome about it. She's like, I didn't realize that. I'm like, yes. So think about who needs to know. Is it your customers that need to know? Are there some external stakeholders that need to know? Do you have a board of trustees or an advisory board that needs to know? Decide what you need and then who needs to know. And then lastly, one of the most important things, this is step 3, is how do you want to show up for that design conversation? How you show up has impact. Where you are in the U-curve hypothesis has impact. Do you want to be open? Are you going to be more hostile about how you have that conversation? Do you want to like lean into CCL and just be more creative and flexible and what's possible? Do you want to come in there stressed and frazzled? Do you want to be more like a Buddha and be Zen-like? Okay, so 3 steps. Step 1, what do you need? What are your biggest pain points? Step 2, who needs to know? And step 3 is how do you want to show up? So let's use the chat box again. I'm going to turn this off. Let's use the chat box again. I'm seeing all your chats. I love my paper calendar too. Yes, in the chat box, 1 to 2 words. How do you want to start showing up, right? Be intentional. You've heard people say that. You've been to like a yoga class and they're like, let's set our intentionality. It is true. The research about being intentional is all there. So use the chat box. How do you want to show up for these conversations or just in general? You get to choose. This is your life. I'm gonna have a sip of water. Oh my God, we have so much Zen. Go West Coast. Isn't that funny? I would never have described us as like Zen-like, and now there's a lot of Zen. I'm seeing also, by the way, freestyle. I saw informed, creative, flexible, prepared. Absolutely, these are fantastic. Ashley did in all caps, open mind. Okay. And sometimes you got to remind yourself, you can have a sticky note that says, I want to be curious. I want to be open-minded. Okay. Because it's real easy when we feel like our communication preferences aren't being met to just kind of default to maybe how we used to be or how we don't want to be during that conversation. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Okay. Let me go back to a screen share if I could. Actually, no, I'm tired of sharing my screen. What questions do you have? Because there's so many of us, if you will, raise your virtual hand to do that, and then I can call on you. And all you have to do is click on the word participants if you see it. There is a 3 dots that you can hit, and then it will show a little hand, and then it literally comes in order. It's like, and then I can just call on you if you would like. So again, you click on participants. You'll see some nonverbals. Miriam, what's your thought or question?
Okay, I just have to unmute myself. So what is the Zoom etiquette about, do you have to show yourself? You know, do you have to do the video?
Yeah, so that is, Miriam, like one of those things you would want to design What do you want to design? For example, we have pivoted all of our coaching courses to be online. I would have told you back in January, it can only be done face-to-face. Well, guess what? Now it's all online. We're having the best time ever. And we design them with the coaches. What is our expectation for having a video on or off? Okay, not everyone, there's also an equity piece here. Not everyone wants to show their house. Secondly, not everybody has access to something that has a video feed to it. I happen to have it built into my laptop, but my old computer didn't have that. So there's an equity piece too, but Miriam, that brings up a great conversation. Like, what do we want to design? How do we want to show up? Do we want our video on or off? And again, consider the equity piece too.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. If you'll raise your virtual hand, would love to call on you if you would like. And again, you just go to participants. There's the yes, no, slower, faster, and then 3 dots. You can even request a cup of coffee.
Jen, John commented that he realized the water cooler had disappeared and his team could use some form of water cooler when I think about improving communication. He thinks that there's value there. Do you have any comments?
Yeah, I do. I didn't mention it, but my slide that talked about the different categories of what you want to design, one of the bullet points said content versus connection. And that's a really important thing for us to consider right now, especially because we're all working remotely. You know, some of our preferences in communication are to communicate and to like, how's life and how's your baby and how's your dog and what's life like. And then we have the content side. We have other colleagues who want to get on a call or an email and not do those personal check-ins, but instead get to the content of the business. Design that in, right? Because if I just make up the assumption that everybody wants to connect, then one, I can't read their minds. I don't really know. So just ask, okay? Just ask. The bottom line, and by the way, we teach this in coaching, is don't make assumptions, just ask. What do you need, team? Do you want to connect every time? Do you need like 1 minute? Should we use the chat box, in person? And if you don't want a bunch of emails about it, send out a Survey Monkey. That's like a real easy way to get people's, like, take the temperature of a group really quickly. I love that part. Do you see anything else, Sonia, that I might have missed?
Latanya has her hand up. I don't have any other comments or questions in the comment box, but if you're having issues with raising your hand, go ahead and put them in the comment box. We'll address them.
Okay, Latanya, I see your hand, so I'll lower it. What would you like to share?
Well, what I wanted to ask was, I have my staff. I have about maybe, I guess, about 23 people on staff, but I would say 90% of them do not come into the office. They all work at different locations. They're all senior citizens, and most of them don't have access to computers or they don't have smartphones. And trying to maintain that connection when I live in Towson, they all live in Anne Arundel County. They're all over the county. So it's maintaining that connection to them without them feeling like they are invisible, or that, it's just really just trying to maintain that connection. I'm not sure how to do that. Because I'm an essential staff person, so I have so much that's going on right now, but just trying to reach out to them and just check on them and see, check in with them and see how things are going for them. I have no clue how to do it except getting in my car and trying to drive around everyone's house.
Yeah, and that's great, and that's a real need. I'd say first off, find out, what do people need? So again, we're making the assumption that everybody wants to connect in some way. Now, if you already have taken the temperature of the group and they're like, we missed the connection, then you know there is something they need. The other thing, and we say this in coaching all the time, is, and this is going to sound counterintuitive to how all of us were probably raised, we always say as coaches, don't work too hard. You're working hard. This connection is not just about you. You said you've got like a team of 20. How about you get them in small groups? They connect together. Or you make it like a phone tree and you call, the next one. So think creatively. Yeah, this is time for CCL. The way you did it in the past, you don't have to do it now. And don't make it all rely and fall on your shoulders. Is there like, co-captains that
that's a good idea.
I know what we do for the coaches, we call it pods, like dolphin pods, because they're highly communicative, they're playful, they're social. So we put all of our coaches in pods. And that would be a great idea, is to take your team and put them into pods or families or coffee talks or whatever you want to call it, right? Give it a cute name, because we love the frame of cuteness, but don't put it all on you.
Okay, that's a good idea. All right, thank you. What about if I did something like, just had them all just, oh no, I couldn't do that. I just thought about that. That wouldn't work. Never mind. Thank you.
And I'm happy to brainstorm with you another time when it's just you and I. So at the end, we're going to share our emails. Please email me. I'm full of ideas all the flipping time. It's maybe a curse. Pamela, I see your hand up. I'm going to lower your hand, and if you'll please share. Oh, unmute yourself.
Go ahead, Pamela. I unmuted you.
Oh, all right. Well, that's like, because I thought, well, how do I just talk with Tammy, because we know each other. We're one of the bunch from Anne Arundel County, even though we're in different departments. But again, I'm not sure when you communicate, so they're all at home, and unless they're doing, because I really don't know what's going on with your group. Like I said, the phone tree, though, that's a good idea. And just calling, a few each day or something, what's going on, what are you involved in? But then again, I'm guessing you know what they're involved in because they're doing the meals and stuff, or are they? I don't know.
So let me stop you there. I bet, because we have collective power of like 70 something people right now. If in the chat box, you've got some ideas about how to support a group that you just heard described, just throw them in the chat box. And that way we can make sure that LaTanya can see all of those. And LaTanya, people can just put ideas in the chat box, and that way you'll get more. All right, we are going to start wrapping up, landing the plane, as we say in coaching. I want to share a final question for you before we share our email addresses. And we're going to use the chat box again, except for I do want to take 3 audio volunteers. So the question is, what is your biggest takeaway from today's session? What is your biggest takeaway from today's session? We'll make sure we put that in the chat box too. What is your biggest takeaway? I'm going to see if anybody has, let me move that out of the way. Let me see if anyone has their hands up. Can I have 3 volunteers who will share? Janelle, what is your biggest takeaway? And then Cynthia.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My biggest takeaway from today would be that we're not alone. We're all learning. I'm really glad that I was able to participate in this and, just to continue doing our best, I guess.
Yeah.
Learning as we go.
Absolutely. You're not alone. Figure out what you need and share that with others. Cynthia, what are you taking away?
I'm going to designate the 9, 12, and 3 to check the emails. I think that's going to work for me. It's just all day long trying to check them, read them, do work. So I'm going to use that 9, 12, 3, and they do require us to check them 3 times a day. So that's perfect. And thank you for the suggestion.
Oh, you are so welcome. You're welcome. And let's have one more person. I'm trying to scroll through to catch you all in case you are like physically raising your hand. And I'm just afraid I'm not going to. So Sonia, do you see anybody else raising their hand?
I do not, but we are having a explosion on the chat box.
Ooh, do you mind summarizing some of the big ideas you've seen?
There are a lot of folks talking about open communication and their data based on some of the components that you discussed today. They like the concept of the U-shape. Being flexible, being creative, taking the time to really kind of reconfigure what today looks like because we are in uncertain times.
Fantastic. Thank you for doing that. And thank you all for participating. It's always so much nicer when you hear from folks. So we're going to land the plane. You can see Nancy's email there. Mine was on the page before, but you know what? I'm going to add it right now because I can. So Jen, Lara, I am JG Lara at aacc.edu. I would love you to come take a coaching class with us. We have 24 seats in our coaching program. I'd love you to be able to take one of those. We usually sell out because, again, we are making coaching accessible, affordable, and we have such a good time. Such a good time. And I think you'll appreciate the skills. We can also bring our coaching program to your organization. Okay, so we can come deliver it straight to you. Again, we like to aim for about 24 people in our coaching communities at a time. Now, I do see some hands up. So Jessica, I'm going to get to you in 1 second. And I also want to honor that you all were here, that you took the time to be here, and that you may want to get on with your day. I am going to take this slide off. So if you haven't written it down, do that, or take a picture with your phone so you know how to find us at CTG or Nancy or I right there. I'm going to stop sharing. I'm hoping that you've gotten those down.
Thank you, everyone. If you have to leave, feel free to contact us, as well as we will be sharing the recording that we took today. So thank you very much.